Hey, good evening. Good afternoon, wherever you guys are. We are back live with, not live, we are recording this with the dogs here this evening. Okay, today I want to, first of all, I want to thank everybody for the kind words. It was so amazing, the outpouring of the comments and everything that you guys posted from my last video. You see, I know I have the right group. I got the right crew, and we will be on that cruise ship one day. I'm sure of it together. But it's bigger than that, and you guys just poured your hearts out in your comments. I read them all. I'm sorry I couldn't reply to all of them. Still working on some of that. I do run a farm here, and it's quite busy. I got all my chores done, so I'm a bit of a mess. But I want to talk today about some news that I heard about, and it was really fun, kind of interesting news about gold. And there were three congressmen who submitted a bill, or yeah, I think it's trying to be a bill, and they're trying to get gold, U.S. dollar backed by gold. So it started a whole, flood of comments came into me about, from different people that I know, and we chatted back and forth. And one guy says, "Yeah, that'll never happen. That bill will never pass." And blah, blah, blah. Well, my point was, we might not have a choice in this sense. See, on a wholesale level, I think that could possibly happen, because what would happen is when the ships pull up from China at Long Beach in California, and they say, "Well, we don't take your, toilet paper money anymore. We only we don't want those. We don't want your treasuries." Which, if you don't know, that's kind of wholesale money, and that's what people pay. That's what nations pay other nations for, with, is treasuries. Well, they've been selling those treasuries off for years now, and they don't really want them anymore. So what do they want? What is it they want from us? Well, I suppose China could use some lumber from us. I suppose they could use some food, obviously. Without many people in their climate, we could, and we do a lot of that trade already with them. However, oil, even, gas, oil, but they happen to have a trading partner, don't they? So I don't see it taking over the US dollar. I know that I've said it before, that the yuan is growing, and it could be a means of exchange globally amongst other countries. I don't think it's going to take over the US dollar in the US. This is a long subject, so I can't really get into detail as to why I believe that, but I really don't believe that's what's going to happen here. I think on a wholesale level, they will trade with the dollar, and they will exchange it out with other nations who still owe debt to the U.S. or would like to have U.S. dollars, because a lot of their people's pensions and what other things around the world, including Europe, um, still need US dollars for those pensions and debts that have to be repaid in dollars, not in other currencies. So it was interesting news. The really interesting part was, I saw a video, and the guy was talking about, he did the math on it, and I think it was like almost $400,000 would be the price if we exchanged an ounce of gold to all the U.S. digits out there currently in the world that we know of, and the gold that we know of at this point. That's a big number. That's crazy. But on that level, I really want to talk to you guys. This is a neat story. I hear so many people talking about recession and depression. I believe it's possible. I believe that we're headed that direction to some extent. I think there's going to be people that unfortunately lose their jobs, and it's going to make for tight circumstances, in particular probably in this US, because we've really, frankly, we've been spoiled in a lot of ways. And that's kind of in decline right now, and I think before long we're going to feel that. We're going to feel the ramifications of other countries around the world doing business outside of the US dollar, and it is going to affect us, that global trade and those business partnerships with, I believe the BRICS are all the way up to 120 different countries who have either applied or signed up to some degree. Now, when you understand that trade agreements, that they can almost write off their debts to the IMF. They're not doing this yet, but soon they will. Currently, it's just trading for the oil globally. But as soon as they can write their debts off and put them into yuan, which the Chinese government really doesn't want to do for many different reasons, well beyond the time length that I have in this video, they don't want to do that, and that's what they're trying to avoid. That until that day, the US dollar will still stay in power. In other words, as we all say, the cleanest shirt in the hamper. It will remain that way for quite some time, in my opinion. It has to be taken over by a cryptocurrency or a digital representation of gold or Bitcoin or something along those lines. It's not going to be taken over entirely by the yuan. It just, there's too many other debts. There's too many outstanding debts that have to be paid in US dollars. And the more you pay them, the more you have to get more dollars. And then, you know, it creates an economy for the dollar. And so there's a lot of talk out there about that happening. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. And shoot, at least 50% of the time I don't get this correct. A lot of these things. However, I am pretty good at the big picture and the macro. And here's my macro angle that I really want you guys to hear. It doesn't matter that you're on top. We need to stop the American ego of we are the #1 economy in our dollar and this and that. That patriotism is great. There's nothing wrong with being, you know, proud of where you come from in your nation. But we're people. We're global people. We should care more about human beings than the border they call themselves a nation surrounding. They're not our enemy. I don't want to go down that road right now. I really want to stay on this. They are going to do global business with each other outside of the US. That's clear as day if you can't see that. You know, the U.S. has been invited to become a member of the BRICS, and it just amazes me that nobody talks about that. And they've been inviting us for over a decade, and we just, I don't know, with ego or whatever the situation is, nobody really seems to give an honest answer from our White House for the whole decade, not just this regime, all of them, as to why we're not a BRICS member. Why not? Why are we in business together? Why don't we want mutual trade globally? Why don't we do that? If we're partners in business, we're less likely to shoot each other, I would imagine. Just putting that out there. So, I do see a leveling off in the economy of the United States. I do. I think that could occur. Do I think we're going to go into full-on depression and it's going to be terrible? In some ways. And what I mean by that, there's going to be many things that become deflationary. A great economist, I can't remember his name now, he said, Friedman, he said, the things you need will be inflationary. The things you don't need will be deflationary, which is really, it's not a good spot to be in necessarily, really, is it? So that's kind of what's coming for the US in particular. Now, why I don't think that's going to last very long is because of crypto, because of technology, because of AI, and because of many partnerships that the BRICS have made and global industry. Let's remember, some of the best times and the booming times of the US was when China was booming. Everybody prospers when big nations like China and all of, well, in this case, Indonesia thrives. Many people don't understand how big Indonesia is. I've mentioned it before, but I think it's like the size of the U.S. or nearly. It's big, and it's going to be all those partnerships around the world are going to make up for the diminishing economy or the slowing of the U.S. demand on Chinese goods. China is going to be able to sell them to other nations. Again, don't take this nationally. Take this as, hey, well, that's okay. We won't have to suffer as bad because we won't have to hold the whole world up economically by buying everybody's goods in the world. Everybody in the world will be buying more goods, and we're going to have more people who are currently in poverty gaining up to the middle class of their nation. Yes, the middle class of the US and Canada has really taken a hit. It's true, we have. But it's a leveling off period. That's our Bruno man bumping the camera there. So it's a leveling off that's occurring right now, and it's distributing out, and more people are joining the middle class. This is a beautiful thing globally, okay? This is why I'm totally not down with everybody and their brother saying this is going to be the worst time and we're going into a global depression. No, they're all making partnerships. They're all making contracts. They're building railroads. They're building farms. They're building everything that you can imagine. I just heard just the other day they're talking about 2 different projects that are Bitcoin energy projects in massive islands in Indonesia that are going to be massive. And they're green sort of, but I mean that's not really what this boom is going to be about. And whether or not you believe in the green boom or not, think about this. The rest of the world really doesn't. BRICS sure doesn't. And they're going to thrive without it. And that's going to hold the rest of the world up. That's why I think it's really important for you and I to stay positive, stay together, and stay upbeat and as optimistic as possible, because we have each other. We have this crypto technology, which is going to change our future, and you and I know that. So, in conclusion, don't fret. Don't listen to all the naysayers. The sky is falling. The sky is not falling. I feel for anybody that does lose their job. It does seem that there is employment out there, so we're not that bad yet. I know there's a lot of people that I follow their channel, and boy, they think it's just going to crash, and they think the dollar's gone tomorrow. That is not going to happen, guys. The dollar is not gone tomorrow. So try not to listen to too much hype. Really filter what you listen to. Try and find a channel, many channels, there's many great channels out there that have an optimistic view, because let's remember, like I talk about on this channel a lot, they printed $6 trillion in the last 3 years. Digits, whatever you want to call it. That stuff is sloshing around the world. There are places like Dubai and other countries that have never thrived the way they thrive today. I mean, I just heard $50,000 a month for an apartment there. I mean, that's booming economies. That can happen everywhere. That money will slosh around, and it will find you if you believe that it's coming to you. And you have to keep yourself in check with the negative news, because there's so much of it out there, and it just inundates your life and it consumes you, and then become negative, and it's hard to get out of bed, and it's hard to get to work, and you're like, oh my God, I should start digging a hole and burying a bunch of cash in my backyard. And that's really, in so many ways, the worst thing you can do for any economy. We have to slosh this cash around, and the more you do that, the more we all thrive. And that's what this channel is about, is you and I thriving. I have some really good news coming up about Brent and I. We're going to do some fun stuff, and we want to keep you guys informed on what's going to happen with that. All right, guys, Just thought I'd go over that one today. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Sometimes I can never tell how long I ramble on in these things. Love you guys. All of you be well, and please take care of yourselves. I am out. So this person says to me, you know, you really shouldn't let your dogs chase the wildlife. It's not good for the wildlife. And I thought, yeah, I appreciate what you have to say. I do. And I know it's tough on the squirrels. But the breed that I currently have, they're blackmouth curs, have been bred for 200 years in this country to chase rodents. Bruno's father is a 14-time champion squirrel hunting dog. World class. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be better off trying to keep him from licking himself. No, that ain't gonna happen either, is it? Now, well, yeah, it's tough on the squirrel. It's tough to be the squirrel around here. Yeah. Well, Bruno sure enjoys it. Not so much if you're the squirrel. Good night.